How you doing? It's me, and today we're going to talk about fathers, because tomorrow is Father's Day, and I wanted to kind of go over some of the things that fathers have to do, all the things that are happening, but I do believe that fatherhood is a structure that is being diminished in this country. Because of the equality thing with the female culture and the fact that they all want the same rights and everything else, we have specific instructions on how these particular structures have to work, So you got to kind of look at it to the point of saying, well, who's right? Who gets the equality? Because in a sense, we're still looking at, the fact that in this day and age, being a father in the United States is really kind of hard because, and especially if you're black, because, the stability is always in jeopardy. It's a thankless job, but the women say the same thing, simply because of the fact that they believe that they should have more say so, or maybe somebody's not saying something. I don't know how that really works in most instances. I can only go by what I experienced from my own family and, with my own marriage, and in my instance, it's, being a father for me was way different than being a father for my dad and even his dad. And I could tell differently because I actually liked my dad. I wanted to go places with my dad. My kids don't want to do nothing with me. I mean, if I don't make them do something, they're not going to do it. And now that they're older, I'm kind of glad. Why would I want to drag somebody around that doesn't want to be with you? It's like, forget it. My mom and dad, and this is the real kick. And I'm going to give you this one story about my dad. My dad, my dad was from back east. He was from Texas. And he wasn't very educated at all. But my dad had more common sense than 10,000 PhDs. Why? Because he weighed two things. If it was good for you, I'm going that way. If it was bad for you, I got nothing to do with that. And that was my dad, And he got to where we were when he was really young, back in the 30s, I think it was. So the whole issue was that it was work ethic, family, those type of things. And think about that in those days. Because coming from Texas to California, even in the 30s, man, had to be almost a thriving, it had to be miraculous. I wish it was, but now the place is just glutted. But, fathers are the number one issuers of discipline. And without discipline, you really can't sustain a country, because it takes discipline to make someone study to improve their own lives. It takes discipline to make sure that someone doesn't become so fat that their own bones and their own weight collapses beneath their gourdness. It takes a lot of discipline for someone to not lash out all the time simply because they can't get what they want. It takes a lot of discipline for someone to say, well, okay, I'm going to go over here and try to take advantage of these people simply because I can. These are discipline issues. And if you'll recognize so far to this point, and as far as I can tell, the female culture all over the world is not part of the disciplinary culture. It's not part of that framework. So at some point you look at it and you say, well, wait a minute, how does this happen? I'm pretty sure that everybody agrees that men are disciplinarians and women are nurturers. So when you come up with these type of scenarios now where you have two men and two women in a house, I'm trying to wonder if people are like cigarette smokers. You're going to get cancer, right? Is this inevitable? That when your children grow up, and in most of those instances, there's usually an adoption issue, or the fact that before these people became, they had a child somewhere else and they had discovered themselves. Not in it. So you have to look at it and say that how can a normalcy, and believe me, I know what normal is, because I had normal. My parents were normal. Go to work every day, learn to get better, make better for your children, grow up and die. Treat your family right, treat your community right. That's normal. But when your child doesn't grow up normal, you can't say that they had a normal childhood. Why? Because they have parents that are the same gender. How does that work? How can you have two nurturers? Where's the discipline? And in most instances, when you have these two, whether it's two males or two females, they both turn out to be nurturers. Now that's not good. Because where in this when does the woman think she can stand up and act like a man? Because the man ain't definitely acting like a man. Because they're both, entering each other from the wrong orifice. So it doesn't make any difference. So you got to look at it to the point of saying, okay, there has to be discipline. Just like there has to be discipline when it comes to going to school, like I said before. But see, and I'll use myself as an example. In my reality, I was pushed out of a family structure simply because I was too much of a disciplinarian. I had chores. I paid allowances. I made sure that people got up and tried to do the newspaper, get a B route, okay? Try to get some extra work credit from school, if you got that far in school. But in this particular instance, I end up with two children that don't even finish high school because they talked their parent into, oh, I'm sick, it's too cold outside, it's too hot outside, I'm too ugly, or I gotta play this game. Neither one of them went past the 8th grade. Everybody makes a choice. But you know something? I'm the bad guy for that. Because when my parents told me to go to school, guess what? They didn't have to tell me to go to school. I went to school automatically. Why? Because I knew my parents were going to be upset. Even though my dad and my mom divorced later on, I did what my parents said regardless. And believe me, I wasn't the one trying to play them against each other. Because in a sense, I could get money from either one of my parents. Didn't make any difference. Why? Because of the way they taught me. Like I taught my kids. You do what I say do, you can go do what you want to. You can go shoot somebody. I don't care. As long as you do what I ask you to do. Job's done. Be gone. Go out and administer what I taught you. That's as simple as that. Women, and you heard what I said on the Women's Day. These women are traitors. Okay? They will side with a child that has no experience and does nothing but cry and wet its pants. All day long. Happens all the time. So, as a father, for me, go ahead, have them. That's what you want. That's how you make your future. Sure, go ahead. Don't go to school. Yeah, sit up here with creatures everywhere, and just don't pick up the dog's mess and stink and. Eh? I don't have to answer for you. You still learned how to say your prayers, right? Still had to say your prayers when it was time to eat, right? Still taught you how to read that Bible, right? Still taught you how to respect people and not going in the store acting like a banshee, right? Got taught that, right? Got taught that authority is your number one concern, right? That's what my children learned. And guess what? That's what they got for years. And if they didn't learn that, oh well. It's like my mom said, I ain't got an answer for you. Oh, wait a minute, or did I say that? Okay. See now, the other issue is the fact that without a predominant, I'd say, manhood issue, there's a breakdown. And let me give you an understanding here of how this goes, because my master breaks it down like this. Because there is this Trinity and these various hierarchies within the spiritual realm, whether that's, the Trinity, good angel, bad angel, creatures of the spiritual realm, blah, 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 blah. See, in this society, in this existence, there has to be a head of household. And that's the way it was made. There has to be a head and a helper. So, and then there are all of the individuals that come within that group. They can be blessed and divided and moved and other things, but there has to be a certain respect for those that had procreated these extra individuals and these families that are being built. But in this 21st century, in the United States, children cuss out their parents. And every time I hear that, the first thing that pops into my head is the fact that my mom said you got to obey those commandments. I keep hearing her, and that's why I keep saying that's what I'm part of. That's the whole issue. But now, these are the very reasons why, these weaknesses came into place, but then also these reversal of roles within the United States. Because, besides the heavy hand issues in some of the other countries or the humanitarian rights and all these other things, got it, it's cool, no killing, got it. But, even the people that, like I said before, they come into these countries, they mutilate people's bodies. It's not murder or nothing like that, but who told you you could snatch something off the woman's body? Ain't nobody told you that. That's not your job. You don't get a chance to manipulate DNA and make people blah, 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 blah. Comes into problems. So, this is the reason why, in some instances, why people are caused to be confused and afraid. And without a strong male figure, the people and the land, they become discombobulated. And you'll remember the King Arthur thing. And as well as the Native Americans. The land was a very important issue. And if that king or that leader did not treat that land with respect, chaos ensued. Happened then, happening right now to us. And guess what? This is the last stand. Why? Because after this, the discombobulation will be worldwide. Simply because we just had 8 years of a man that was open. He allowed people to live and to do for themselves to grow. And so he made very opportunities to do that, whether that was to stop the onslaught of greed, whether that was to stop the violence that was unnecessary against a certain culture, whether that was the fact that at some point or another, discrimination was not only within the school system, it was in the political realm and within the contracting process. Because at some point right now, the man said when he first got into office, follow the money. And he realized, and I realized, that money all lands in the hands of the racist, of the prejudiced, of the supremacists, of people like Donald Trump that want you to live his way. And guess what? You guys got your way. I hope you're happy, because guaranteed right now, every time the news comes on, I'm laughing my brains out. I'm like, wow. I hate it when I'm right. But now you have exactly what you want. You have America great again. It's going to be one of the greatest disasters known to man, simply because of the fact that once you have someone that is so disrespectful, like the president we have now, that, and has nerve enough to say he's being witch hunted, when this fool came, oh, that guy, he wasn't born here. Well, how long did that clown do that? It's short memory. And again, you people did that. Not that you're listening, but I'm on record knowing that the majority of the wealthy people in this country are the most racist. And it's sad that, people that claim to be part of the black community or want to help the black community are so distracted by every other culture. It's pathetic. But one thing you will realize here very soon is that the black culture has never, ever, ever had any type of malice towards its captor or its slave master. And now these people are coming from across the pond and they hate you because you got money. And you ignore them. You ignore their poorness. You ignore their religion. You ignore their whole existence. Kind of like you do black people. So, guess what? I have no problem with it. Because if I look at it as well as, say, the Jewish people. Okay? Here we go again. But if I want to be seen, if I need to have all this respect, if I need people not to call me names, of course I'm going to do exactly what they do. Don't be anti-me. Don't be anti my race. Because what is it, a race or a religion? What is it? I don't get it. But you want what you want, and you want to tell everybody else how to live. Even though you walked out of Egypt with everything. But the sad part about this is that me as a father and my father, now our lives are negated. Why? Because things like wealth is more important, or illegal aliens are more important, or the fact that at some point or another we've got to go to the moon and only spend $50 billion so the black community can always have the highest of everything. See, I understand that when you have an interest in something, that interest is genuine. But see, as a father, I'm going to take the role now of the society. Because in this sense, this is what you call the microwave society. The next greatest thing that's coming, like the drones now, we got the high-speed rail coming, big stuff jumping, new movies, Marvel, DC, all of this good stuff. Everybody wants to be entertained. Everybody wants to be nobody wants to be second. Nobody wants to be third. Guess what? I'm dead last. But I'm in line. I know I'm getting in, and I'm at the back of the line. I know I'm getting in. I don't have to be at the front of the line talking about, oh, God, I hope somebody let me into heaven. Oh, I guess I wasn't so bad. No, I don't want that bad. I really don't. You do, though. You want to